What is happening, everybody? I hope you've had a good...
Back in like 2005, something like that.
I think my first con was so good. It's Friday Junior.
It's Friday Junior, it's podcast day, it's payday.
And if you come out, do it electrically. Doesn't matter how you feel about the situation.
My name is Raph. We're always before we start the podcast because we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about music and just share those stories and experience. This is my co-host Kyle, aka the Beer Buddy. He is hailing you.
This sort of weird era where they're sort of right in that post-grunge.
Look, you're fighting the good fight in today's world. My war was fought 40 years ago, really.
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here. Hey, I'm too quick on that air horn button, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, that is amazing. I love every second of it, dude. Fantastic.
What is happening, everybody? It is me, the Reverend Raph, joined by my co-host Kyle, aka Beer Buddy. We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here with another interview. But before we get into that, hit that subscribe button down there, hit the bell so you get notified when we put videos live. Usually only going to be one a week, so you're not going to get hounded by nothing. You're not going to get tons of notifications or anything like that. Just so that you know on the Thursdays when our videos go live, and you can just get all of that good gossip, all that good news from everyone that we're talking to. We also do reactions over on the Metal Ruse channel, so if you like that, or if you just want to get heavy metal news, reviews, reactions, all that good stuff, you can head over there, get your metal news from Metal Ruse. Yeah. But we're here today with a very, very special guest. He is a friend that we have known for a very long time. Well over 10 years for each of us. We have performed with him in various bands. We have been to, I think I've almost been to as many of, probably just about as many of his gigs as almost any other band that I've been involved with. And he lived in fucking state like 3 hours away.
Yeah.
That I had to go to that shit. But I went lots of times because going to the Basso is fun.
Yes, the basement was a venue.
The Basso is a vibe. Even before they did all the renos, it was sick. And then they updated it because before they did the renos, it had a nice grungy vibe to it. Then they did a bunch of renos and just neatened it up a little bit. I don't want to say gentrified, but it just made it slightly neater, not as sticky floors, how the whole thing. And I know some people are like, how can it be a metal venue without sticky floors? That doesn't work.
Just because we're metalheads doesn't mean we can't be clean and classy.
Exactly. We're metalheads, but we're also gentlemen.
We're not savages.
Sometimes. Exactly. But we are here today with our very, very good friend MILA, whom you may know from MAZA, to talk about MAZA and all of his new projects that he's got going on, including ELK Mountain and a solo album that he's potentially working on for this year. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is our chat with MILA. Mate, how you doing? It is so good to see your face again.
Miller, how are you, mate?
Gentlemen, how are we? It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invite.
Of course. I'm sorry it's taken so long. But before we go any further,
got all our... Oh, yeah, your turn tonight.
There we go. Get the crack going.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, it's we've definitely got history, musical history, stage history there. So it was just seeing what you guys are pumping out is some really interesting stuff. So it's good to be here.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Yes, as you said, lots of history there. For those who don't know, for those who maybe weren't around the Sydney and or Canberra scenes back in the day, our bands played a shitload of shows together. Christ, I used to go down to Canberra a lot for shows just because I love going to Basso, which is, I think at one point someone asked me if I'd moved down there. I was there that frequently. So it's, So I loved going to the Basso, and we go way, way back. I don't know if it was the first time Tensions played down there or not. It might have been,
It was
the Sydney Invasion where it was like 3 Sydney bands.
Yeah.
And then, goddamn.
I think we were on that one too because we played with Tensions that night.
Was it? It was. I know it was Tensions.
I
think it was Tensions Arise, Emotus, and Foundry Road were the Sydney bands that came down for that. That might have been the next one.
Yeah, that was the first one. The first one.
Yeah, the first one we came down. So that would have been 2010, 2011, something like that. back when the basso was not as renovated as it is now.
It's completely
No,
different.
that was that was before Lance took over.
He's done
you
done
go.
a really big job
When
on
the
that.
when the back room was basically still just boards on bare metal frame with
Yeah.
like either was it mirrors at the back or like hideous orange paint or something.
And it had
Yeah, this horrible, hideous orange wall, and it was like the rolling door that wouldn't close properly. And
Yeah,
it was horrible.
yeah, good stuff.
good days, man. Good days.
Good days back in all of that.
Nostalgia.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So of course, yes. So you were in, I can never get it. Namaza.
Numbers
Sec-
Numbers
yeah.
are.
Cool,
Numbers are,
cool.
yeah.
I said it like a
Love that.
bag of MAZA.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody. Everybody got it right. Yeah.
And for the uninitiated, well, can you give us a bit of explanation about what was behind the name and the meaning of that name, just so that they
So
can have some context?
when we finally started sort of kicking on, we were called Collab with a K, and it just wasn't working. And some people had left, and we were sort of honing in on stuff. And I said, we've got to change. We've got to change it. We've got to make it unique. It's got to be chantable. And so, with my history and my upbringing being in my Native American heritage, that sort of stuff, specific to the nation that my ancestors are from, I thought it'd be cool to throw a name out there, Na, which is and, MAZA, which is metal. So because we were trying to do something that we couldn't really be pigeonholed into. It was heavy, but it wasn't groove metal. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. So it was metal. And so we come up with Namazav, and that's where it basically came from. It's easy to work into, merchandise and all that sort of stuff, and it was very chantable. People liked it, so it was good. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
It
very
was a
chantable.
solid band name.
Absolutely, yeah,
One of
and
the
it was
more memorable ones.
very chantable, even if everyone always pronounces it wrong. And
Hey, as long as they're saying it, doesn't matter how you say it, as long as you're saying it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, just spell it right.
That's it.
And right, so I mean, like I said, I can remember. Yeah, it was like 2011, I think, thereabouts, first time that we played together. But how long before that had the band actually like formed? Because I don't think we really talked about that.
Realistically, and this has happened a couple of times, and it's happened again with ELK Mountain, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think it was about 2006. I swore Black and Blue. I'd been in a couple of bands. Anymore, so I go solo.
Hold up there.
Sorry,
No,
we
you
just had
good.
a
You
bit
good.
of a-
Sorry, you
bit
just
of
had
a
to cut out.
glitchiness.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, so I was done. Wasn't going to do anything. Then really great bass player, Daniel Tonkovic, came to me. I'd worked in other bands before with him. And he said, I want to start another band. I said, no, not doing it. And he badgered the shit out of me for something like 6 months. And I was like, fine, whatever. My brother, who's a drummer, he's played with mostly black metal with a band called Mar Mortem. I grabbed him because I just said, look, just jump in temporarily. Grabbed a mate of mine on guitar, met this other dude on guitar. We just cobbled this thing together. And then it was literally like one guitarist left. We brought in another one. Daniel pulled out because he had other things that he was doing. So that was it. So now I'm in this band I never wanted to start in the first place. And I'm trying to put these pieces together. And then it literally got down to the point when Izza, a guitarist, had sort of joined. He joined as a bass player. I met him. We walked into the shop I was working with, and I was like, I need a bass player. He was like, done. Never met him before. And then we had two guitarists and my brother leave. My brother moves to Melbourne, and I'm like, fuck this. I'm done. I'm not doing this. He was like, no. I know people. Let's fill the ranks. All right, no worries. So we filled the ranks and we just went through this crap for years. And it was like, that was all kicked off in 2006. And it probably wasn't another 3 years until we got, probably 3 years until we got the lineup that stayed with us for a long time until one of the guitarists, Kyle, ended up leaving. And we got in Lloyd, who took over for the last few years, and he was fantastic. But yeah, it was probably 3 years of dicking around, writing, sorting out members and stuff before we actually got to a solid lineup. It was a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I gotta say, I mean, I am impressed that
You
you like stuck with it.
persevered,
You
far out.
persevered through that, because I tell you, I wouldn't have. But one
Especially if you
thing
didn't
that,
want to do it.
but you know, real talk. One thing that I have always admired you for is your determination and your dedication to whatever it is that you're wanting to do. You are like, I'm doing this, and you do it. You don't.
thanks, man. I
You know, you're not.
really
I
appreciate
mean,
that.
look,
Yeah.
I am I'm unfortunately very much subject to the whims of my motivations a lot of the time, rather than determination and discipline. And
Yep. Yep.
I have and yeah, your your dedication to literally everything and anything that you set your mind to is astounding. And I don't know many people with that degree of, you know, I'm doing this and never stopping until it's done.
Yeah, and then that was, look, why we always sort of, our whole thing was to set a standard. And we never got as far as I wanted us to go. We had a few opportunities that rose up here and there, and we never sort of jumped on it, which I was disappointed about. But at the end of the day, it was always about doing the crap behind the scenes so that when we walk on stage, everybody's getting a damn good show. I don't care if there's 3 people in the room or 10,000 people in the room. I don't care. You're going to get the same show. And like we would have bands come up to us and be like, what's the work you guys doing? Because you're spot on. Like, well, we're practicing at least for 4 hours a week. When a gig comes up, we're timing our sets to the point where we knew that from setup to sound check was for us. That was our longest time. That was everybody on. Because, like Basement would put on like Metal Fiesta where there's 20 fucking bands and 15 minutes to drag your crap off and then crap on again. And that's all. And nothing would piss those guys off more with people who weren't ready to go. And we didn't want to be that band. We wanted to be the band that showed up, did our job, did it properly, kicked ass on stage, and people wanted us to come back because of our work ethic.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Like, I remember Nick, when he joined the band, phenomenal drummer, Nick guitarist. He turned up one night and he was so sick. It was the first time we'd done a gig and we were considering cancelling. He was,
Wow.
I don't know how he played. Like, bucket next to the fucking drum kit. Like, he's throwing handfuls of drugs in just to try and keep his head clear enough so he can drum. And I remember looking at him, and he's pale because he's not breathing properly. He gets through, he doesn't miss a beat. Doesn't drop time. The boy is professional, like you read about, right? Finish the gig. He falls off the stage. We pack his shit up for him. I literally pour him into my car, drive him home. He doesn't remember getting home. But he was like, no, we've got the gig. We can't cancel. I'll do my damn job. And I was like you couldn't ask for a more professional drummer. It was fantastic.
And that's
Damn.
I love hearing stories like that, because we'd hear, a good couple of them, but it just goes to the degree of how professional Australian metalheads can be. when it really comes down to push and shove, everyone's like, oh, they don't care, or like they're not professional. But tell one of them that they might not be able to play a show, and watch the core muscle memory kick in, and they just like they have an out of body experience, and their muscles take over. They do the set, and they pass out as they get off stage, like you said.
Yeah, and it's it's a testament to the metal crowds as well. Like we've got an amazing metal scene here in Australia, and the metal crowds are fantastic. They are some of the most supportive, loving people that you can ever get at a gig. And for me, it was always, I will not do them a disservice by putting on a shit show.
Yeah,
they've paid to see me, so you know what? They're going to get 110%. And we were absolutely blessed with some of the crowds that we had. And honestly, I've done other things and never felt more love and appreciation than you get from a good metal crowd.
Yeah, and look, I mean, as someone that has, I mean, I don't think I can even count the number of shows that I saw, number of times I saw you guys play or played with you, and yeah, I mean, it's you're 100% right. Like you guys always brought the best show that you were physically capable of doing, even if you did have your toe shoes on half the time, and you grossing the audience out with that shit.
You and Ash.
But yeah, you and bloody Ash
and
wearing
Ash,
your toe
man.
shoes on stage. But yeah,
If it works,
and I mean,
if it works, then
and your the physicality that you would bring to the performance is something that not a lot of frontmen at the time were bringing. And I guess part of that speaks to your, dedication to physical fitness as well. That you were able to, sing to the degree and with the power that you can, while also just physically never stopping on that stage, constantly moving, constantly jumping around, and that combination really did of everyone doing so much work and your the band being super tight, your incredible voice and physical performance and almost interpretive dance at times of the music that's being performed
yeah,
really did set up for something that was very, very unique. And I mean, I constantly, I mean, I talk to a lot of people overseas, and even earlier this year when I was in the US, anyone that would listen, I'm giving them like lists of Aussie metal bands to check out, and you guys are on that list because I'm like, this is a band that never got the props they deserved. Like if people were there and saw it, then they're like, yes, they knew what you guys could do and what you guys deserved. But unfortunately, it's just one of those things where, life gets in the way. Things don't always work the way we want, and another talented band just sort of ultimately went by the wayside. And yeah, I just like anyone that you guys are like one of those bands where I'm like, this is the kind of shit. This is like, there's a few bands that I show people, and it's like if I could show people 5 bands of what Aussie metal is capable of, are not not the big ones, not like your Parkway Drives and all of that business, but like what the scene is and was doing on a smaller scale. MAZA is absolutely one of those bands.
yeah,
And the like I said, it really is a shame that you guys didn't get your flowers, so to speak. But I know that, like you said, you felt a lot of appreciation from the crowds, and you, despite that sort of cap on what you guys did do, I know that you're also still immensely proud of what you were able to do at the time, and I'm not trying to like suggest that it wasn't an achievement of what you did in saying it that way. You understand, right? You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say, like I said, we tried to set a standard, and I've run into people sort of since I left the band that still remember the shows and stuff. And a couple of guys have said, that was like, you guys set the standard on not just professionalism and turning up and doing the job and, you know, all that sort of stuff, but the shows and how to interact with people and, you know, like how to interact with people. I picked up from other great bands, other great, you know, frontmen and all that sort of stuff. And I've experienced both sides of it. I've experienced, you know, bands that I loved, met them and gone, what a pack of pricks. Like, I never want to speak to them again. What a pack of bastards. And then, you know, like you see these other guys that are just phenomenal who just want to chat and just like, they're appreciative of, you know, when you talk to them and go, man, I really fucking dug that. And they're like, oh, really? Like, are you kidding me, man? I've been, you know, like, we played a show and it was the first time I met Black Reno, the boys from Black Reno. Fucking love them. And I'd been listening to Dreadnought ever since they came out. Loved them. And they were playing that same night and got to talk to MILA from Black Reno. Fucking top dude. Loved him. Did extra shows with him and got to meet a couple of the boys from Dreadnought. They stuck around and watched our show. They didn't have to. They're fucking Dreadnought. You know, like, so I'm like, holy crap. And then they came up afterwards and like, loved the show. Yeah. So I'm like slightly fanboying at this point. Oh, shit. They're like, yeah, man, it was fucking great. Well, I really dug your sound, dug the show. It was fantastic. That was really good. And I'm like, I have loved you guys since you came out in like the you know, the late 90s, early 2000s. It was fucking fantastic. So meeting those guys and going, if these guys are going to take the time, there's no reason why we can't either. And we really try to pride ourselves on things like you said, the physicality, making sure that I'm training for what's going on. You know, if I know I'm going to be jumping around like a nutbag for 45 minutes, hour and a half, I'm going to train for that shit. Mm-hmm. You know, if you can't pull up and do that, recover, and then do that the next night without some sort of training. And I spoke to other frontmen about that. And it was like, if you're not training, you're cutting your own legs off because you really need to do it.
Yeah.
So it's those little things there, you know, they're simple things, but being, also I see a lot of musos do it. And I guess this is a bit of a old man giving, you know, advice to those young guys coming up. The self-deprecating thing, don't fucking do it. It's the worst fucking thing you can do. You know, oh no, we were shit. No, you weren't. You were probably fantastic and you think you were fantastic. Be appreciative of whatever praise people give you because it's not always going to be there. People will tell you your shit to your face, even if they thought you were great. You know, you don't, you know, if you thought you were great, you don't have to be a pompous wanker about it, but you can turn around and go, thank you very much. You know, we put a lot of work into what we do and I'm really glad you enjoyed the show.
That's it.
You know,
the hardest thing is,
you know?
I think, and you're right, like I never knew how to take a compliment and the best thing you can never say is, man, I really appreciate you watching your show and thank you for your kind comments. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes from as well, you know, a combination of, you know, we like metal because we got issues. And that's, you know, and we were very often
way of putting it.
we were very often on the receiving end of a lot of shit through our lives, through our childhoods, through school, and you add to that the typical Australian attitude of, you know, about like tall poppy syndrome and that sort of thing, and you know, no one, you know, and it's, you know, and for a lot of people, like I think it does come from a place of trying to be humble about it, but also, and that's why, but you, I mean, yeah, I kind of tried to get away from that sort of mentality, you know, and like I will almost never call, if I've had a bad performance or if I think my band's had a bad performance, I will almost never say, you know, it was shit, right? I'll be like, if I'm talking, you know, to other people, like if it's within the band and we're talking about it, I'll be like, look, that needed a lot of work. Like that was really not our best one. Like what happened? What is there anything we could have done to prevent that, etc. Sometimes you just have a bad night. Sometimes you just have a bad night. Your gear doesn't want to work. You know, you keep having issues. The sound's not great. You whatever, right? Like sometimes you have a bad night. That's okay. That happens, right? But anytime, if even if I feel like the band's had a bad night, when people approach to talk about it, if they're being very complimentary, I'll be like, oh, like, thank you very much. I'm glad it was all right out the front. It felt a bit weird on stage, or it's like it was weird, or like it didn't feel like the strongest performance, or things like that. Try and use that sort of language, because you never. You're right. Like, I mean, it rubs off on people, and it's like, if I genuinely feel like I had a bad show, I'll try and be like, oh, thank you. Like, I didn't feel like it was my best, but I'm glad you dug it, and I'm glad it seemed all right out the front. Because
Yeah,
ultimately that's what
exactly.
matters. Like, that on stage, if it's shit on stage, but the people in the crowd are having a good time and they're liking it, that's ultimately what matters.
No, you've done your job.
You also notice, and you also notice a lot more because you're in it. You know how it's supposed to go.
Your
So
own
if
worst
something goes
critic.
balls up, exactly. You are your own worst. And look, the biggest thing I learned is 99% of the time when you fucked up, nobody else has picked up on it. They're there, they're enjoying the show, unless they are honed in and they know your stuff top to bottom.
Yep. Your
Those
reaction
guys
to the
will know.
mistake is
They'll
more
come up and
noticeable
go,
than the mistake.
yeah, exactly. So we would practice, don't react. My biggest reaction would turn around to Nick and I'd just be looking at him and just go, what the fuck happened? And he'd be like, I don't know. And just keep going. That would be the reaction. The crowd would never see that. But I think you're right, it's that Aussie thing. We want to be humble and all that sort of stuff, and we don't want to sort of take too much credit because we are afraid of the tall poppy syndrome. But I think we also need to realize that it's okay to think that the stuff that we're doing is fucking great. And like people come to me and go, like when I was in numbers, I'm like, what's your favorite band? Well, my band. All right, well, no, come on, you can't say that. Why not? If I'm not thinking that my band is the greatest, doesn't mean they can't improve.
Yeah.
Why am I doing it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. And I think
stop?
also something that when I was studying music at TAFE, something that one of the performance teachers talked about, because when we were studying music at TAFE, if anyone's watching this that isn't aware, they, at least what they did when I was doing it, is it was on the same, shared a campus with a uni, I think, and there was like a uni bar that we would share with, and we would put on shows. So the music performance students would be put into bands and they would learn songs to perform. The technical production students would do the technical production for the show, with the higher degree students doing the higher level jobs, and the lower degree level students doing the grunt work. And it was to build that teamwork and that mentality, and this is how a show actually runs. And one of the performance teachers actually said, I think one of the bands performed, and one of the first weeks there wasn't much in the way of response, but everyone who was doing the music classes had to attend. It was compulsory to attend the performances, so you could think about, and you were encouraged to think about them critically and things like that. But it was also so there was actually a crowd there to perform to. And one of the first weeks there really wasn't much in the way of response from the crowd to the things, and one of the performance teachers actually got up and was like, you guys need to have respect for the people that are up here performing. Moderate applause is your baseline. Like, it's a sign of respect that these people have gotten on stage and put effort in, and I've performed for you. Like, a golf clap doesn't cut it. You need to give a decent amount of applause, because that is showing respect for the performers on the simple basis that they have performed for you. Enthusiastic applause, when they've done a great job, you go more and you do enthusiastic applause. But decent, moderate, respectful applause is your baseline. And like a lot of, I think there's a flip side to that as well. As the band, you need to understand the way that the audience is going to perceive what you're doing, and you need to put the effort in to respect the audience that's shown up. And and there's that. It's just it's
you got to earn the applause.
In
the most roundabout way.
In some ways, the audience doesn't owe you anything, and you don't owe the audience anything. But at the same time, you do owe each other something. And it's the weirdest, like. It's such an odd relationship sometimes.
Yeah, I disagree with that a little bit. I do agree that the audience doesn't owe you anything. They don't owe you shit. But I think as musicians and ultimately performers, I mean, at the end of the day, we are entertainers. That's what we do. We're getting up. We're doing a job we love doing, obviously, because the music industry is shit. Like it is horrible. It's one of the worst industries to ever get into.
Sorry, I will jump in. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off here. I do want to clarify my point a little bit. Sorry, because I think I know where you're kind of going with that. In that, when I say that the band, like the performers, don't owe the audience, and I don't mean like, yes, they owe them a performance. They owe them their best performance and a good performance because that's what they've paid to see, or that's what they're there to see, right? They do owe them that. I'm just talking in terms of like, it's a lot of audiences and fan bases think that a band and a performer owes them much more than they do. I think is more what I was trying to say. They feel that they owe them, a certain style of music or a certain degree of access, maybe to certain things. And I guess that's more what I was referring to than the performance. Like, and you're a performer, you're there to do a job. That's your job.
Yeah, and ultimately, like it's what I experienced with a lot of the solo stuff. Like, I've been doing a lot of solo gigs and cover stuff lately, just because I've, been. That's just where I wanted to sit for a while, and literally, I had a conversation with a lady one night, and she came up and said, I don't remember what fucking song it was. She said, "Play this song." I said, "I don't play it." She said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, first of all, the song is predominantly on piano. So to get the same feel transferred is a little bit difficult, and it takes a lot of work to sort of make sure that she goes, "Yeah, but you should be able to play it." I said, "What do you mean?" You should be able to play it. You should be able to just. So you play? And she goes, "Yeah, I play piano." So I took my guitar off, I handed my guitar, and I went, "Off you go." She goes, "Oh, I don't play guitar." And I said, "But hang on, you're a musician. You should be able to play this. You should be able to pull this
by
off
your
the
logic."
Like, I don't owe you anything. I'm not a jukebox. I don't know every song. Like, I think that's... And you get it for... We used to get it in the metal crowd. Like, somebody would come up and ask for some obscure metal song. I don't know it. How the fuck do you not know that song? Because I don't know every metal song. I don't... Every band. I don't know every song in the fucking world.
I like the bands I like, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's weird, this sense of entitlement that comes from crowds and punters sometimes. It's they think
we were talking about it the other day. I think when we had our interview with Viper Snatch, maybe we were talking about like people, coming up and mucking with gear, and it was when we were talking to Flaming Wreckage. We were talking about people coming up and mucking with gear.
Jumping off
jumping off the stage when they're not invited to be on the stage, and like there's an etiquette to this that while it's metal and a lot of it's about breaking the rules, there's still some rules, and there's a degree of respect that needs to be adhered to that a lot of people forget sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that cuts across pretty much the music industry as a whole. People have a sense of entitlement where I've come to see you, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, I own you.
And I
paid for the ticket and I own you.
Yeah, I own you. If I chuck you $20, just play the song. I'm like, no, there's like, I have a veto list. I have a list of songs that I will not play. But for two big reasons. Either number one, it's not to be touched. It's a song that's so iconic that I could spend 5 years working on it. I'm not going to do it any justice, so I'm not going to touch it. Or I find it that batshit boring, I'm not going to fucking play it, or I just hate it, right? And like K-Sun's on that list, iconic Australians. I hate playing it. I don't want to play it. I don't want to hear it, so I don't play it. But I do play an acoustic version of Flame Trees because the acoustic version is kind of cool. I dig it, right? Yeah. And so what I do get out of that is I'll ask them who wrote the song. If you don't know who wrote the song, I'm not going to play it.
Ooh.
So I get... Right? So big one, Tennessee Whiskey, right? Great country song. Everybody loves it. Performed by Chris Stapleton. Does an amazing job. He didn't write it.
No, he didn't. It's a cover.
Yeah, it's about 30 years old,
Yeah.
and it was written by David and Co. And when I ask them every time, I'll be like, all right, you want this song that I can play, refuse to, you tell me who wrote Tennessee Whiskey. Everybody goes, Chris Stapleton, Chris Stapleton. I'm like, nope, wrong. So now you don't get the song that I didn't want to play. So, you know, it's that way I sort of, you know, it's about playing the crowd as well. It's about getting that interaction from everybody, but it's also sort of teaching them too, I don't owe you anything. I don't play your songs. Job. And the other side of it, of course, is I'm not paid to take your abuse.
Yeah.
And I don't work in retail. So if you're going to come up and say some shit, I'm going to say shit back.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be afraid to kick it up a notch if necessary, because I'm a musician. I don't work in retail. I'm here to look after myself and get paid.
That's it.
Take it or leave it.
It's not customer service. It's entertainment, not customer service.
I would pay good money to see the wrong person step to you over a show.
God, that would be.
It's happened. It has happened, but it's usually, you know, at the end of a 4-hour gig, they've been drinking the whole time. They've got a gut of courage. And it happened one night where this guy's missus had come up to me and she'd asked for a song and I had it, don't mind doing it. I said, yep, great, not a problem. I'll play you that song. Just give me 5 minutes. I've got a couple of songs that I want to do first that other people have asked for, and then I'll do yours. She goes, right, no worries. So I do the other songs. She comes up and she's in my face. She's like, play my fucking song. And I'm like, first of all, ask nicely. You don't demand. Don't work for you. I will play it. Can you please step back? Guess the shits. She walks off. I do the next song. She comes back and is in my face again. She's like, you're not playing my fucking song. I said, I did say to you, I had other songs to play first. If you don't like it, you can fuck off. I'm not your fucking jukebox. I don't fucking work for you. Anyway, she toddles off. I'm playing a song because now I'm not playing her song.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. I'm not doing it. So her husband comes over and he gets this close to me while I'm playing the song. And I'm like, step back from the mic. I'm like, can I help you, mate? And he's like, you're a fucking piece of shit. And I'm like, stopped the song. I went, what? He goes, you're a fucking piece of shit. I said, what have I done? And he goes, you told my missus to go fuck herself. And I said, no, I didn't. I said, she can fuck off and leave me alone if she can't behave herself. Her missus is on the other side going, I never said that. I never said that. Oh, fuck, I never said that. And I'm like, I'm not going to take your shit, mate. I've had enough. I've had enough of you and your mates. I'm done. And he goes, oh, fuck you. And started this shit. I just took my guitar off. I'm like, let's go. Let's go. Out. Outside. She's like, you want to do this? I'm like, man, you can't walk. You can't walk. I'm stone cold sober. I don't drink when I play. You can't walk. This is not going to end well for you. Anyway, he's getting mouthy. I start walking towards him, and just as I'm walking towards him, the police walk in the venue. So I'm like, manager's like, he's got to go. So he's like, just go and finish your gig. He's gone. Manager's like, he's gone. He's out. So it happens. It happens. People get abusive.
You know what you got to do? You just start keeping dollar coins or something in your wallet, and when they go, if it's just go inside, put it on the jukebox, mate. Not a jukebox. If you want to go jukebox, go inside.
And you know what? Look, 99% of the crowds are fantastic to the point where they'll come up and go, can you play this? And I'll go, I don't know it. I'm sorry. I do have another song from the same artist that I do. Oh, yeah, fuck, man. Look, we're loving it anyway. Just thought we'd ask. I'm like, yeah, man, it's good. I'm happy for requests if you're polite. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think, and that's the thing, you know, there's I think part of the side effect of this, so many pubs and bars going for cover bands and tribute shows is that crowds expect the hit. They expect certain songs because so many of these cover artists and, you know, solo artists or duos or whatever, like, it's their bread and butter, right? That's what they do all the time. They make their living off of it.
Yeah.
So they play all of the hits that the songs that they all play the same songs because they're the songs everyone wants to
Yeah.
hear. You know, it's like when you go to like Venom in Sydney and the fucking playlist was like in the nightclub level was the same fucking playlist, just shuffled slightly differently every week because those are the songs that made people get up and dance. And if
then
you
you
played
hate
anything, if you dared to play anything different, it was like the you know Nick would come up to him and be like, "Oh, you play the stuff that's going to get people going." It's like, but that's on every week. Surely they want something different. No, they don't want something different. They want to hear the same songs every time. And
And then you
I
hate
think-
toxicity because they played it on repeat for like 3 years.
yeah. But I think part of that as well comes down to, and this is something that we've been discussing recently over the past sort of couple of months on and off on the podcast, is this idea that we as musicians engage with music so differently to the layperson. And you know, the average person, like their taste in music basically solidifies between sort of 30 and 35, and they don't take interest in anything new, and they don't care about anything new, and they just stick with what they know.
Yeah.
And that is,
Depressing.
you know, for so many musicians. And look,
to me, it's depressing.
I can't imagine it, and most
I
musicians
can't.
can't imagine that, you know, like because we are so fueled by this passion of ours for music that we always want to hunt down the new stuff. We're always looking for new stuff, the different things that sound different, and you know that's I think as well where this joke of this like kind of joke about when musicians give up they join a cover band, right? Like because you learn all of the songs that the people want to hear, and you're not writing new original things, you're just playing the stuff everyone already knows because they know it, and you know that they will pay to come and watch it because they just want to hear the songs that they already know. And it's a weird psychological thing that is you know that pubs and clubs have leaned into, because it's like they can put one band on for 3 or 4 hours with an intermission, and it's only one lot of people that they have to pay, rather than paying several original bands. Or
Man, a lot of these pubs and clubs is actually like, so the guy who I replaced 10 years ago at my job, 12 years ago now, I don't know if they're still going now, but is the singer for Thunderstruck, the AC/DC cover band. And it took him like 3 or 4 years of doing like working there and busting away at that. And then the next thing you know, it's like pubs and clubs are going, well, we're paying for you to come out. And we're putting on this show for free just to get people through the door so they buy drinks and slap pokies away all night. Come put on a 3-hour set. It gets to a stage where pubs and clubs will literally ask you to come to their venue just because they know how good of a job you do.
Yeah,
You're already paid before you walk through the door.
That's where I'm at now.
Perfect.
So I'm sort of like, I'm about 6 months in advance.
Wow.
Yeah.
I get what Raf's saying. You know, it's like, cover, like you're giving up. No, you've worked it out that money's money, and if you're going to play music, you may as well be getting paid.
Yeah. And that's what I said. Like,
Well,
that's not my opinion about it. that's the meme. That's the joke.
Yeah, it is.
It's the interesting thing too is that if you get into that space where you can do that, you can parlay it into something a little bit better. So with the ELK Mountain stuff, you know, we're kicking that off now. We've got all that sort of stuff coming, but that allowed me to use the reputation that I've got to go, right, I've got a band now.
And you're networking and
we'll be recording. We're going to do this. Do you want to put the band on? And people are like, yes, I'll book you for solo shows for A, B, and C. And then I'll book the band to do the full show on, you know, D, E, and F. What do you think? And I'm like, yeah, fuck, beautiful. So it's if you do it right, you can parlay it into a really good originals career.
Yeah.
Just some guys don't, because it's just easier. You know, like
exactly.
I've been asked to do a couple of tribute shows and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea, but that's not where I'm heading right now. I want to parlay this into something else.
Yeah.
And that's where we're sort of heading.
I mean, ultimately, the game needs to, like, people need to have their head in the game where, and you've done the thing that we've spoken about on this podcast so many times. You've managed to make your music sustainable. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
you're booked out 6 months in advance. You're getting paid before you
Yeah.
even walk through the door. Like there's a booking fee. There's
Yeah.
it's an actual business. So
Yeah.
yeah, like it's great. That's great to
Yeah.
hear that you're doing that, man. And
Yeah.
now you're
But-
networking it into your other projects.
Yeah. And look, it's got to be everything that I've done before. You know, like it's in terms of like professionalism and stuff like that. You know, these guys know that first of all, I'm not starting late and I'm not finishing early. I'll start on time, and sometimes I'll do an extra, little bit here and there. I've had come and pay me to play longer. I think the longest weekend I did was 3 gigs over a 4-day period, and it ended up being it was a 3-day period. It was a Friday, Saturday, and then a Sunday because the Monday was public holiday, and it was Anzac Day last year, and I ended up playing 13 hours worth of music
Jesus.
Wow.
over 3 nights. Yeah, it was painful. Like it was actually like my hand, because I'm doing the acoustic stuff. So it got to the point at hour 2 of the 3rd gig, I was in so much pain in my hand that, and like I said before, I don't drink when I play. I went to the bar. I got a shot of whiskey.
Yeah.
I was like, I need this to take the edge off. And then it just got to that point where my hand, I just lost feeling in the tips of my fingers.
Yeah.
It was hectic, but it was only supposed to be, that gig was supposed to be 4 hours. But because the venue was pumping, they came up and they basically said, we'll pay you to keep playing. And I went, all right, I'll do another hour. So I did another hour, and the manager literally came up and said, if you keep playing, we'll keep paying. And I'm like, I physically can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I've had like 5 hours sleep over the last 3 days. I've driven hundreds of kilometers. I've now done 13 hours of music. I literally physically can't do it. My voice on my hands, in a claw shape. I can't move. Sorry. But, that was because I built a reputation.
Yeah.
And people wanted me.
And you build your repertoire, and you're able to go and, and do that. And again, like, your the degree of physical fitness that you bring to that as well is a factor there too. So tell us a bit more about Elk Mountain, because this is something you mentioned it to us a couple of times, and you mentioned it a couple of times today. What can you give us about that?
So again, left MAZA in 2018. Swore black and blue I'd never get into and then I was playing a gig in Grenfell, and this guy was up the back, and it was like, and you guys have had it where somebody's just eyeballing you, but it's not the normal crowd watching you. It's somebody watching you who is intent on what you're doing. They're like, and this guy's watching me,
analyzing you.
He either wants to fuck me or he wants to play music. He left, and I never got to meet him. I never saw him. And I was like, oh shit, okay, what do I want to have a chat with this guy? So I get a message like 2 weeks later, and this guy, his name's Kai Chambers, and messaged me, and he's like, really dug the show. Would you be interested in putting a band together? And I was like, oh fuck. Yeah, fuck it, why not? So we meet up, we have a chat. Kai is a professional. He's been a hired gun for years. He's toured the States, the UK, played in Australia, all over the place. He's got he's part of fucking Australian rock royalty, really. Like, this guy's got so much shit behind him and stuff, and I never realized how much he'd done. And he goes and plays with his old man's band, XTC, over in the States. And he just went over at the start of the year and was hanging out with guys from The Church, Powderfinger, Living Colour.
Mm-hmm.
Guys just like hanging out with them and just sort of kicking it with them for a bit. And we decided to sort of kick this thing off. And the idea being that we would essentially do the same covers that I'm doing solo, but as a full band. Mm-hmm. And then work towards building a repertoire of originals. I've already got like 8 originals that I've written over the years, and so we just sat down and started going through them, and it's kind of snowballed actually.
That's good.
Yeah, it's like it was once it kicked off. Kai had to go back over to the States and do some more hired gun work with a couple of bands over there. Came back, and through that has built a whole shitload of connections, especially in the country music scene. And back, and it was like I'd said to him, I said, look, I've got a couple of covers. We've got all the covers and stuff. I've got originals. I sent him just like scratch tracks of the originals. He wrote some amazing drum stuff to it, had some great ideas. Next thing I know, he's got a mate who's come over from the States, John Plank, who toured with him as a sound engineer and producer and stuff like that. He's now like a ranch hand in Montana. So he's like backwoods country boy, this guy. And he turns up one night, and next day we're recording. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? I got on my shit here. Why not? So we've got 6 tracks down. We're dropping some final tracks on that. And, so hopefully by sort of June-ish, we'll have it all done, dusted. It'll go over to Plank to be finished producing. And then, that's basically it at the moment. We've already got like 6-7 gigs this year already. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's kind of snowballed, but it's great.
Jesus.
It's very exciting.
You know, and these guys, it's amazing. And, you know, like Kai is great. Got a guy, Johnson, on bass, who's used to do like prog metal, prog rock stuff. So it's very interesting to see him come into country that's so simplistic, you know, really sort of pull it back sort of thing. But where, like it's kicking along and it's going.
If Victor Wooten can play bass in a metal band, I think just about anything can work.
Mate, that's it. But it's good because it's a good combination. You know, we're all on the same track. We're all, you know, we've all got that. We all put the work in. He's out in Grenfell, so it's this weird separation. So it's sort of, you know, whenever I'm out there gigging, we try and get as much practice in as possible. And whatever we can't, I just record and send to him. So, but it's going well. It's going really, really well. And hopefully, like I said, by hopefully June, the album will be finished and we'll have it out not long after that.
I'm so keen on a country album.
Yeah, so country rock, be a bit of like a country southern rock kind of thing, like a mix of proper like old school country, and then like stuff like Blackstone Cherry and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, beautiful,
nice. A little bit of the old, so not quite as heavy as like the Hank Williams III type.
No, not that heavy. No. But you know,
like that sort of like, you know, but country punk stuff.
Yeah. But you know, like we're doing a cover of on the album. We're actually doing a country cover of Hazard by Richard Marx. So it's actually worked out kind of well. But we do, you know, like, I mean, I do normally like Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, you know, Charlie Pride, all those guys. Look, and now I've got the full band.
Johnny Cash is metal as fuck.
He is. You don't need
you know,
he is.
The OG fucking metalhead.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he was best.
Such a fan. He recorded and done a cover of a 9 Inch Nails song.
And that's like,
and Soundgarden.
I think that
and Soundgarden, yeah.
And it's interesting, man, because there's a lot of crossover between the metal crowd and the country crowd.
Oh yeah, that's what Metallica is. Metallica's just country music with distortion.
Yeah, it's. Well, you know, when you got guys like Pantera and stuff like that who were citing guys like Cashy and Waylon Jennings and George Strait as inspirations, and then you've got, you know, all these other guys that are kicking around Texas that are like, oh yeah, Pantera's a staple. Like if we're in the tour bus, it's like George Jones, George Strait, Charlie Pride, you know, this guy, Pantera, Metallica, love a bit of System. Like they're all like metalheads. They love it. And the metal scene down south in America is kind of huge. It's kind of big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, excited to hear that.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, I'll definitely be sending you some copies. So.
100%. I can't wait to show the missus. The missus got me in the country, mad into it.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to show her.
You have also mentioned to us you've also mentioned to us you're working on a bit of a solo
Yeah.
album of sorts.
Yeah, another metal album.
Yeah,
I mean, I miss it. I miss playing it, but you know, especially post COVID, getting anybody who's not already in sort of like 2 or 3 different projects is kind of difficult. So I thought, screw it, I'll
especially
try
down
it.
there,
So,
especially down there as
Yeah.
well. It's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
imagine it's a lot harder in a town like Canberra, that's a little bit smaller, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's hard enough finding a drummer when you're in like Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane, right? And then we're finding
Yeah.
a drummer that's not already involved in
4 different
multiple
projects
Yeah.
and has their
projects
own
and has
car
the
and
time. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine. And the thing is, like, that was the one thing that I kind of learned when I was going down to Canberra pretty regularly. Is I'm like, I think I met just about everyone in the metal scene just from going to
Yeah.
gigs at the Baso
Yeah.
over a couple
Yeah.
of years. It's a very small, tight knit community down there that
Yep.
unfortunately means that while everyone's close and kind of knows each other, that the number of musicians that's available to work with is slim pickings a lot of
Yeah,
the
and
time.
it as soon as somebody sort of gets free, they're snapped up like that. Like it's
Yeah.
real fucking quick. And that was how we were sort of able to sort of fill up the ranks with MAZA as time went on, because I mean, reputation-wise, we had it there. But as soon as I knew somebody was free, like when Nick joined the band and jumped in on drums, somebody said to me, and I was still mates with his brother at the time, and I said to him, I said, is Nick doing anything? And he goes, no. I rang him straight away, and I was like, Nick, I got a band for you. Do you want to be in your band? He's like, yeah, no worries. I'm like, sweet, practice is Wednesday. And so it was like, being like that, I was not going to let him get away, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's I just got to the point where I'm like, well, I know, playing guitar, I've got enough of the expertise there. Fiddly stuff, I know enough guys that can jump in and do some stuff. Drum wise, I can always call on at least 2 or 3 different people to put tracks down for me.
Yep.
And I'll get the album done, release the album, see what the reception's like, and then worry about putting, a live band together at another date. But I think even if that happens, it'll still be, it'll kind of be like Bowie in the 80s, like I'll put a band to perform that album, and then I'll write another album and I'll put a band
Yeah,
to do that.
I think you can look at what Buzz managed to do as well, in terms like he and Scott wrote a concept album and they put on like 2 performances of it, and that was it. It was to get like a creative idea out of his head and work on that and have that be a thing. And it's like, this is a goal I want to do. I want to record this album. Recorded it, played a couple of shows of it. That was it. It was like a very specific moment in time that if you were a part of it and you were there, you got to you got to experience it and see it. And it's just kind of like, cool, I did that. Now I'm going to do other stuff again. And then maybe kind of come back and do
that's
other
a
stuff.
true
down the road with it,
definition of a concept album, or even like you could probably call him a concept artist, Buzz.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Buzz is
He's a
very high
concept
concept
artist.
in a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So okay. So that's cool, but like, I mean, very, very keen to see what comes of that. Like you say, you know enough people that I'm sure that you can get some session people to do for the album there. And
it'll also be a great way to sort of showcase other musicians as well. I loved
get some guest spots on there and
get some guest spots on. I think Nita Strauss put out an album a couple of years ago where she did the same thing, and she had like Draymond from Disturbed get up and do some songs, but she had like she could get people to do it, and it was such a great album, and it was able to sort of push forward those sort of ideas. So it'll be, I want to do something. I've always really loved the groove metal side of things, but the last couple of Machine Head albums as well, that real kind of orchestral, ethereal groove metal kind of stuff has really sunk in, and I dig it. So I really want to create something that's highly just want to fucking tear the world apart. Really.
Yeah, groovy, but also
so,
grandiose at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so, have some real easy, broken down, chunky groove metal songs, and then stuff that's really uplifting as well. So, and I want to do something. How do I put it correctly? I don't want to have a lot of darker themes in this album either. I want to sort of have some really bright, shining themes in this. I want to have, really just fucking, like I don't want any songs to be a downer. I want every one of the songs to be really fucking supercharged and,
Inspiring
I
and
want to
uplifting and empowering.
yeah. Feel like you're staring into the sun, like that sort of thing, And so, and as we were saying before, talking to you guys and with the breadth of experience that I've been involved with, even just you guys. I mean, we were talking about the shows and shit that we did so many times and the shit that we saw, being able to go, right, I've got an idea. I'm going to send you this and sort of put those feelers out into the scene would be absolutely amazing.
Awesome. Well, I mean, look, stoked to hear that you're getting back into the band side of things because, as fun as acoustic shows are, I like metal MILA
Yeah.
is absolutely
Well, man,
where I'm.
You were always one of the ones that was like always wanted to made me work harder.
Yeah, the
as a
measuring
frontman.
stick. The measuring stick. It's like, man, if this is the standard that it can be done at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's go for that. Well, look, let's dive into the first segment. I think it's about time to do that. If Kyle is ready to hit the button.
Yep, I'm gonna hit the button.
That you could
Quick question quarter.
You could do so you.
Back.
All right, and we're back. So now it is time for the quick questions quarter, spelled with Q's, not K's, because we don't roll like that. And so this is just a bunch of rapid fire questions. So we're going to get to learn a little bit about MILA and his musical background and a little bit more of what makes him tick in that regard. So and some of these are questions that I'm really excited because I've known you for a very long time and I don't know the answer to some of these. So I'm keen to see what comes of this. What was
I'm a little scared, but all right.
What was the first instrument that you ever learned to play?
Guitar.
Easy. What was the first album that you ever purchased?
Ooh, first album I ever purchased with my own money was Bad Outta Hell 2, Meatloaf.
Hey.
Solid. I think that's a first.
I don't know if we've. Yeah, I don't think we had anyone say Meatloaf before.
I think I'm 90% sure that's
there
first.
You go. What was the first live concert that you attended?
Ooh, see, that's tricky because I used to go and watch my old man play all the time. All right, so away from other solos, but it was probably. It wasn't until I moved to Canberra, and it would have been Test Eagles. Who was else on that? Grinspoon. I can't remember the third, but it was cool. It was back when ANU used to do gigs properly. So yeah,
Nice,
right.
Nice.
Yeah,
was that fairly early? That would have been pretty early Grinspoon, right?
Yeah, first album.
Ooh, very nice.
So, yeah.
Very, very nice. What's an instrument that you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet?
I touched on it for a little bit and I started doing it, but I kind of gave up. Was the bagpipes, just because I feel like
practicing bagpipes is hard. It's really like you can't do it quietly.
No.
And you're going to be very bad for a very long time.
Yeah, I wanted to get back into it, so it'll happen. Yeah,
nice, very cool. Well, I mean, you got your solo album coming up. You need a bagpipe section on the solo album.
Do a tribute to Korn. Bagpipes.
All right. Now, this question's going to have a bit of range to it, so we'll say that for this next question, it can be any of your musical projects can count for this one. If you could pick one big band or artist to open a show for, so this can be anyone, so living or dead, active or not, whatever period in their career, anyone to open a show for, who would it be, and which of your bands would it be with?
Oh shit!
I forgot to mention they get a little trickier as we go on. So
yeah, thanks. Okay, so it would have been MAZA, and that's because it would probably tap into quite a few of the bands. I would have loved to open for either Devil Driver, In Flames, Machine Head would have been good.
Yep.
Or, and I love them. I love them because they're fun. Amon Amarth.
Yeah, nice.
Nice. There's just all really good options there. I'm digging that. I think Namazara and Machine Head would be a hell of a combo. Like,
Yeah. Or in
I think
It almost
Machine-
happened.
I think the Machine Head
That
crowd
almost
would
happened.
really,
That almost
really have
happened?
liked you guys.
Yeah, it almost happened. So when Lance had you for a couple of years or something and done everything, and Machine had to come to Australia, and he'd actually got in contact with them, and they were keen to come to Canberra, but with what we were paying them, wouldn't have been able to cover their costs logistically because they would have had to go to Perth and then come back to Canberra and then go. It would have fucked up everything. But it nearly happened. Yeah.
Ooh. That would have been, that would have been wild, man.
Oh,
That
mate,
would've been wild.
Machine Head at the basement. There wouldn't
Nearly
have been a
happened.
basement left.
Yeah, I think.
You.
The best Canberra metal crowd would have torn that place.
Mate,
to
the
ground.
Canberra and this year, I would have gone, no, I'm not going to the entertainment show. I'm going to the
Yeah,
basement
you
show.
would. You would have. Yeah,
I
you
would
would
have gone
have
to the
people coming
basement
down.
show.
You absolutely would have had
Yeah.
that. You would have had a flood of people from Sydney coming to that.
Oh,
All right, here we go. Who is a band or an artist that you're listening to at the moment that you think is underrated and deserves more attention?
Ooh. All right. So metal wise, underrated's kind of hard because there's so many good guys that are getting some great traction at the moment. We're listening to Avatar. Real quirky, real sort of out there, kind of dig it. Don't think they've been sort of getting enough. I never thought In Flames got the coverage and the props that they deserved. I've always dig their stuff. Their albums are fantastic.
I think
new
In
one.
Flames In Flames to me very much feels like a musician's band.
they
As
are.
in, like,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
musicians dig them and have so much respect for them, but they sort of don't get quite as much in the more like general community
Yeah.
from people that aren't musicians. I think
Yeah.
that's just what I've seen. In
But
my
see,
opinion. I could be wrong, but that's what.
when they were at their sort of peak and stuff like that, they were really smart with their money. So they had a lot of restaurants and pubs and stuff
Yeah.
like that as well.
Yeah.
So
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
In Flames and Soilwork that did the
Yep.
same film clip as one another?
Yep.
But with
Yeah.
they did an identical film clip where they went down to and then the other band was performing in the venue that they went to. So, very very clever
Yeah.
idea. I
Because
like
they're
that.
from the same place,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
friends.
Country wise, it's kind of hard because a lot of the good guys have kind of blown up. There's a really great Aussie country artist that's coming through that I got to support a couple of months ago. Her name's Brittany Elise. She's fucking great, like really great performer, great writer. She's doing really, really well. Bree's kind of only sort of like she's only been around for probably about 10 years or so. So she's doing really well. Like she's going to do great. I think she's going to do fantastic. And
I think there's a
we talk about doing a project, so hopefully that'll happen. But yeah, country wise, a lot of stuff's going to happen, and people are generally pretty good with the country crowd. So yeah,
Awesome.
there's a guy,
Awesome.
Stewie Barton, out your way.
yep,
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he's pretty solid. And Ben Ransom.
yeah. There's some great guys coming up, and I think I personally think there's an issue in the Australian country music scene. People sort of hone too much into the Aussie side of things, and it limits them a little bit, especially with the American crowds. But a lot of these guys that are coming through now, they're not honing in on it, and they're just doing good music, and it's really helping them a lot, which is really, really good.
That's awesome. I mean, look, anything that increases Australian music representation globally, I am all for.
Yeah.
Said it so many times, people are probably sick of hearing it, but the degree of talent that is just so underappreciated in this country. Not because people don't like them necessarily, but because you just you put them in America doing the exact same thing, and they would get so much more attention, so many more opportunities, because they've got access to a bigger market in a much more direct way physically. They can get out and play to these crowds there. What is something that? Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you're right.
What is something that people may be surprised to learn about you?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what the big thing is? And that's my age. Nobody ever, people ask me all the time how old I am. So it's generally my age that people sort of get stumped by. So I'm an old prick. I'm a 1980s baby. I'm 43. I'm looking at 44 this year. So, that kind of stumps people a bit. I guess, I'm an archer as well. Love to go out and loose some arrows every now and again, ride horses, I
mean, I think the age thing probably gets people because, as we've mentioned a couple of times, you go to very, very solid efforts to take care of yourself physically. You do a lot of work in terms of exercise and eating well. I'm not going to use the word diet because it's not a diet. It's you fuel yourself the right way and really look after yourself. You train extremely hard, and that's why I think it surprises people because, people probably look at you and I and go, "Oh yeah, these guys are like the same age," but you are several years older than I am, and you look a lot younger than you are, which is
I would have said 35.
Incredible effort.
That's what I get. Mid-30s is usually, and you know what? I'll take it every day.
And to be fair, that's only because of the beard. If you probably knocked off the beard, you'd probably shave off another 5-10 years.
I look 5. I look 5 when I take the beard off.
Yeah, that's why I can only
sport that so well.
That's why I can only shave my head while I've got the beard. I can't have no hair and no beard. Otherwise, I literally look. Those giant baby masks, the crying baby mask. That's what I look like if I take that off.
Oh, dude, I'm putting it if anyone watches this,
that's the
come
Photoshop.
On, get someone Photoshop it.
All right, last one for the quick question quarter. And this is a new question for 2024. Yeah. What is your worst music sin?
Oh, worst music sin. Ooh, that's interesting. I don't know if I've got a musical sin. I've got annoyance. I've got a thing that people fucking hate when they work with me, and that's my hyper punctuality. I am not like I'm not like like all the musos I've met in the world. Like they don't mind being a little bit late, and they're kind of like a little bit. Me, no man.
You and I are the same.
If you're on time, you're 15 minutes late, and I am. Yeah, we had speaking of Black Reno before, we had to go up to Sydney and play a gig with them, and it was literally like we weren't playing until something like 7 o'clock that night, and I made all the guys turn up at 9 o'clock in the morning to pack their shit so that we could get up to Sydney and relax a little bit and make sure that nothing was going to go wrong because all this shit was in my head. So we need to be up there so that we could. And so that's what it's not really a sin, I guess. It's just an annoying trait that I have.
Look, that's very fair. I mean, I'm the same, man. I mean, we played enough shows together that, we realized that look, when it came to shows in Canberra, that was never a problem trying to wrangle the guys for that because we always loved Canberra. We loved Canberra. Yeah. We loved going down, staying down there at the premiere and we were always there to check in, 2 o'clock check in, bam, get in there, walk to the bottle-o, grab some stuff from the bottle-o, chill out in the room with some drinks or whatever before we head over to the venue to load in as soon as we can because we know we're going to see all the cool people, all our mates and everything down there. But the amount of shows where up here or in Sydney where it's it says load-ins at 5, so I'm there at 5 with my shit. The venue's not even open yet. Sound guy's not even there yet. I'm like, the load-in sheet said 5, guys. Am I the only one who's taking this seriously? It's
all musos are on Fiji time.
We played I think Skunkbone, we played a show at the back room up here, and we were there to load in. It was like a day long kind of deal. So thing said load in from 10. We were there at 10, loaded our shit in due to some unfortunate fucking about, and some actually someone got COVID or something. So we ended up being the first band on, but like we were there before the drum kit was there. Like there was a hired drum kit for the whole show. We were there before the drum
Yeah.
kit was there. We had our shit set up, and it was like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do? Let's just go down the road to fucking KFC and get some lunch, and then we'll come back, and then we'll do our sound check because we were just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, load in. That's what time it says. What load in is. So that's what time I'm gonna fucking be there. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Says it on the sheet.
and because and that's gonna be because one day there's gonna be a show where like a local show. Like if it's a big show, it's no question you're there when says to be there, right? But the one day there's going to be a local show where load-in's at 5, and I'm going to get there at 5, and it's going to be load-in, and everyone's going to be there, and I'm going to be like, see, I was right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the cable hoarders. Like it's like you keep a box of cables, and then one time you needed a cable from the box, and so you're justified in keeping the whole box of cables forever, even though you don't own half the stuff that they go with, and you don't even know what half of them go with anymore, and most of them are obsolete, but you keep it because you might need it again one day.
No, it's just like I got a big I got a toolbox, got a whole bunch of random bolts in it. My wife's like, go through them and throw them out. I'm like, no, you're gonna need them one day. Christmas tree,
Yeah.
pulled it down,
Yeah.
didn't have little screw things in there. Ah, 5 years. This is my time. My time is
There you
now.
I think, well, since this is a new question for 2024, and Kyle and I have done the rest of the quick question quarter with one another, Kyle,
Yeah.
Kyle, what is your worst musical sin?
Oh, my biggest musical sin when I was playing was I was always sketchy for time. Yeah. And then if I did arrive early, chances are I'd be standing outside smoking a joint or something like that. And then one of the boys would have to come running out and going, dude, we're on in like 5 minutes. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right.
I would have hated working with you.
Yeah, yeah. I used to be blitzed most of the time. And yeah, yeah. But, you know, I was too busy trying to be a rock star and not actually. But that was yeah. I'll look back on it now in 2020 hindsight's a bitch. I hate it.
No, honestly, I think my one is I turn into such a different person when I'm like being in a band with me is not the same as being my friend. Like the version of me that you get when you're in a band can be extremely irritating and grating because and it's to a fault. I admit that I go too far with it sometimes. It's just it comes from a place of passion and caring about it. Like I said, like I say, the load-in sheet says it's this time. I'm there at that time. You know, what gear are we going to need? Oh, well, we might need this, so we should bring this. You know, and I get mad when other people aren't the same way because I forget that not everyone thinks about it the same way that I do. So and studio me as well. Like if I get into producer mode in my head, fuck that. Like you do not like. I tell people if they ever like bands that I've worked with, people that I've hung out with, I'm like, you know, like I've recorded a band up here, a punk band called Unentitled. And, you know, we played a couple of shows together and we were like, yes, you guys are really cool. We're digging your stuff, blah, blah, blah. I got talking about getting him in the studio, etc. They're like, yeah, we want to do that. I'm like, I'll warn you, producer me can be a dick. Like, because I'm like, do it again. Do it again. Do it again. I know you can do it better. Do it again. Do it again. That was shit. Do it again. And, like, I won't, yeah, like, if you getting producer me in the studio, it's, producer me in the studio is to band me what band me is to friend me, if that makes sense to you. Like, so I'm, you people, I tell people you will not like the producer version. Like producer Raf, no, it is not. You're gonna hate me by the end of it, but you're gonna have some great sounding shit.
That's always my first question whenever we have anyone on that's worked with Raf. It's like, how is it working with Raf? How
And
was
look,
it?
Yes,
to be fair,
I always got band rap. We always
Yeah.
like that's the
fair,
thing. Like, you
to be
know,
fair,
like for
I
me,
warn people, and I maybe exaggerate a little bit so that they're like, "Oh, it's not quite so bad." But
But at the end of the
yeah.
day, you got to put your
but the
name on
thing
it.
is,
You're
but
putting your name on it too. Like, and that's
I
what
mean,
people need to understand. It's their music, but if they
yeah.
sound shit, it's a reflection on you as well.
The thing is, Miller, like I don't even think you got band me. You got friend me because we were not in a band
Well,
together.
here's the thing though. Like this is, I mean, when we ever did like talking about Hell Ranch before,
Yeah,
there were always bands that we had that were like definites. Like yes, yes, yes. Like these are the guys we want, and it was a combination of two things. It was either it was dig the sound. We have to love what they're doing because it's our show. Like we put Hell Ranch together because we wanted to see certain bands. We wanted to put on a gig that we would go to. So number one, do we dig the band, right? And what you guys were doing, what you guys were doing with your individual bands, like we were like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then it was okay. Number two, can we work with them? If we get them down for this gig that we have our name all over, that we've spent putting together, we're feeding everybody, we're basically setting the place on fire for 8 to 10 hours. We're making sure we've got fucking porta potties, we've got the whole fucking thing going, right? Can we rely on them to turn up, do their fucking job, and act professional for the evening? Because nobody's leaving. So it's not one of those gigs where once the lights go down, everybody can revert to their asshole self because all the fans are sticking around. Everybody's camping.
yeah.
You're stuck with them all fucking night. And you're waking up and having breakfast with these people. Can you be professional? And that was the thing for us. It was always like, well, who are those bands? Like, who are those bands that we know will sound great and do what we need them to do on the night? And I think the only reason why we didn't get you guys back, Kyle, was because there was a conflict in dates.
Yes, because we did ask. Yeah, because we did get asked to do the second. Then I think it was the third one.
And it was and it was like, well, and that's what we had. We had our standard and then a backup, and it was like, well, we can't get these guys because everybody's booking shit out as quickly as they can. We're not really booking stuff until maybe 3-4 months before the gig's happening because there was a whole bunch of factors that we had to put in place. But those were the two things. So it was like, well, everybody got not the nasty, but the dictatorship from MAZA on those gigs because it was like, I don't give a fuck, our name's on this. If you can't do your fucking job, off you go. I don't give a fuck you've driven down from Sydney. You can fuck right off, and I think there was only a couple of bands that we sort of went, no, we're never having them back again because they were just so fun.
Again, so for the uninitiated who maybe weren't aware of it, give a bit about Hell Ranch. Like, so it was tell the people what Hell Ranch was, just so they understand a bit more, like about because it was essentially like almost like a not a private party necessarily, but it was like you pretty much knew everyone anyway, so it almost was just like a private party, like festival or whatever.
It was kind of like we wanted to, the idea of it was to build it up into a festival. We wanted it to be a festival because the local bands occasionally would get onto like the festival scene. There was no festival for local bands. There was nothing really big. So that's what we were working towards. And Lance, our bass player, had a property just outside Canberra, and it was about 100 acres. And we'd already had the place where we did the gig was our rehearsal room. So the front wall was basically panels that you could pull out, and they were heavy like a son of a bitch. These things were so fucking heavy. And we would just
get your lifting in for the day.
That's all it was, man. It was great because when Lloyd joined the band, he was a gym junkie too. So we're like, yeah, great, this is good.
Get swole.
All the show stuff. It was so good, So we created Hell Ranch, and Hell Ranch was basically, again, what festival would we go to? And so we had to have key elements. Number one was a great lineup of bands. We wanted to start with at least 6 to 7 bands. We would headline, and then it would be people DJing and stuff like that at the end of the night. Till whatever hour in the morning, we got the shits with it and decided to pull the plug. We needed to have food, so it was always like, I think the last year we did it, we ended up having 3 spits going with lambs and chicken and all this sort of shit. Yeah. And then we wanted to make sure that whoever was staying had breakfast the next morning. So we did bacon and eggs and leftover meats and all that sort of shit for breakfast the next morning. And we had fire pits everywhere. And it was the idea of it was to be built up into a giant all-day festival that would kick off at 9 in the morning and finish at midnight of just local bands. Just Canberra, Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, if we could get them, just those bands. And we wanted to get it to the point where those bands could come and play. We'd pay them a certain amount for the show. You eat for free, all that sort of shit. But it was about showcasing the amazing talent that we had in Australia, and also putting on a show that we wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that was what the intention of it was.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I made it to 1 because I actually filled in on bass with Bleeding Gasoline.
Yeah,
that was I think the one that I got to. And it was, and I will admit I didn't camp there. I stayed with someone in town. But it was the vibe was next level. It was always such a good. It was just like. And it was BYO booze, and just don't be a dickhead. Basically, was the rules. Like, and there was enough people there to sort people out if someone did get a bit past it. And I can't remember if it was Hell Ranch or a gig at the Beso where I met your dad. I think
that was Hell Ranch.
I think there might have been Hell Ranch, but because I remember the food was amazing. The vibes were immaculate. The music was great. It really just felt like a party more than anything else. And it's
someone brought like fire spinners. Someone's doing the fire twirling and shit.
Yeah,
some random. It was mad. It was mad. And the thing was, like I say, I'm pretty sure that they were incident free. From what I can remember. And this is the weird thing. It's like when you actually let people be adults, it's amazing when it's not over policed and you're not you're not wagging your finger at them all the time.
Yeah. And like I said, there was enough presence there of, people that could put a stop to anything and were alert to potential stuff that you all were like, if a situation looked like it might sort of start to get a bit out of hand, you could just be like, hey, look, can we, can we not? And people respected you guys enough to put a lid on it, if that kind of stuff started happening. Yeah. And that's, like unbelievable.
There was an awful lot of bush that you could have just got lost in.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, let's move this along to the next segment.
Let's do it.
Because it's time to get in the... Hey, so those of you who maybe are watching this for the first time, this is our segment called Get in the Bin, where we say, I don't know if you can quite see it up there, but we got the old Infinity Gauntlet up there, up the back. And if you could, we basically say to MILA, if you could, like Thanos, gather all of the stones and the gauntlet and, could just snap your fingers and eliminate 3 things from the music business, what would they be and why? So, drum roll, please. What is your first thing that you would put in what's your first thing that can get in the bin about the music business?
I think, shit. Okay. I'm gonna say it. Top 40 radio absolutely kills music. I don't think it's beneficial. I don't think it pushes new, interesting music. That'd be my first thing.
Because, well, I mean, for a long time there was talk about like payola and stuff, but you know, and it's, I mean, realistically, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that that still happens these days. But you know, with labels paying radio stations to push songs, you know, whether it's, I mean, I don't know what the legalities are around that these days, but basically, like the idea of, yeah, well, if you don't play it, if you want to get the interviews, you got to play the songs. And if you're not playing the songs, you're not going to get the interviews. And then of course every radio station wants to get the interviews, so they play the fucking songs. And it's like this. There's ways that the labels have of twisting their arm to encourage them to play the songs and putting them in there, and that's just creates that feedback loop because you have the top 40, and so it's like, well, the radio station's telling us this is what's popular, so must be what's popular, so I'm going to listen to that, which makes it more popular, and it's just that, like I said, that feedback loop that creates the current state of the primarily popular music industry. It's wild, and there's so much bullshit that goes on with it behind the scenes.
And that's why I hate it, because it's just it's not beneficial to the music industry at all. You're not getting good content, getting paid content at the end of the day, and that's why I sort of don't piss it off.
Interestingly enough, though, I was looking at something the other day. Rick Rubin. I saw a clip from Rick Rubin online, and he was talking about Spotify. And he's like, I have in my hand, you know, with this device, with Spotify, like when I first found out about it and started listening to it, I'm like, that's great. I can listen to everything I want. I can DJ. I guess like, I get it, and I thought I was just going to DJ my way through the day and constantly be picking the next songs and listening to everything. And what I very quickly learned was, I don't want to DJ all day. I want to be curated to. I want someone to give me a playlist. And that's why, you know, this whole thing of people curating playlists on these platforms has become such big business now. It's the new top 40. It's you know, it's just.
Well, that's the thing.
And look, if someone like Rick Rubin's saying that shit, like, I'll pay attention to what Rick Rubin says.
Yeah,
I think you can actually make money if you make a decent enough playlist and people keep on going through that playlist. Like, so when you make a playlist on Spotify, you can send it out and anyone in the world can listen to your playlist.
Yep.
And your list of music. And if they like that, I think you can make money off it.
If your playlists get lots of traction, you can realistically, and people do this, charge bands to put them on your playlist.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which is basically the same thing as what we're talking about with payola and radio play and top 40 and all of that shit. It just creates that thing. And again, the bands are the ones that get taken advantage of, paying someone else, so someone else is making money off the work of the bands. Yet again. Cool. All right, so top 40 radio, whatever.
Yep. You wanted 3, right?
If we can get 3.
And this can be punters. This can be anything.
Big, small stuff that you think it would be for the betterment of the whole industry, or just little tiny niggles that annoy just you. Whatever.
One that frequents is shitty sound guys or angry sound guys.
Yeah, we get a lot of that.
We get a lot of that.
I do. Yeah. Look, that one for me is not a big problem, because it always makes me, first of all, appreciate the good guys. I think with shit sound engineers, you then start appreciating the really good guys that can do a damn good job. It's hard. You know, it's you know, if you don't experience the crap, then you don't get the good sort of thing.
What makes it worse? What makes it harder with sound guys though is when they're good at their job, but they got a shitty attitude.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's where they end up just getting bastard Miller. So I don't really care. I'll be a prick back. But the pop, I would get rid of pop as a genre, not the music, but as a genre,
As a
right?
description.
You're not as a description. I think a descriptor is first. It starts that feeds into the top 40 crap. Like, well, what's popular, what's pop music, you know. Whereas if you just went, well, what's rock, what's R&B, what's jazz, what's blues, what's country, what's metal, you know, like you start talking about what they actually are instead of this pop shit, then that eliminates a lot of the crap that feeds the top 40. I think.
Yeah.
Number
Well, I mean, if
three
you're going to
is
talk about it like that, it was like Metallica, Anthrax. They would have been pop at one stage because they were the most popular.
They were
they
popular
were
music,
popular music.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah,
it. It's like
exactly.
it's like what it it used to be. Pop was just short for popular.
Popular.
And then it's kind of taken on
what
its
was-
own thing in more recent years. But same with same with
exactly.
R&B, right? Like R&B used to be rhythm and blues, and now what's R&B now is extremely different from what what rhythm and blues was, even though it started out as just a shorthand way of saying that. Like R&B is almost just like a it's just almost like a subgenre of of hip hop and rap and those now. It's like it's it's like there's a lot of crossover, but not as well. It's this weird sort of nebulous thing now.
You ever heard of Teddy Swims?
Yeah.
Teddy Swims, man, he brought out I think an album a couple of months ago. It's an R&B album. That thing is smooth, it is sexy, it is soulful. That is R&B.
Proper rhythm and blues stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Loving
it. So number 3, and this pisses me off. This is something that drives me fucking mad. I want to get rid of performers getting credit for songs they don't fucking write. No. So you go to an award ceremony, right? Someone like Beyonce walks up on stage and she's getting all these fucking awards for these amazing songs. She's not writing any of them. She's not producing them. She basically only sang one part of it. Yet she's getting this award and the accolades for all this sort of stuff. I really would love to see that just go. Like, if you're going to get rewarded for a song because your song's doing great, why don't we reward the guys who actually did the work?
Yeah, yeah. And maybe give them a bit more of the front time as opposed to just giving them one category amongst everyone in the music industry. It's like best songwriter award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you start looking at it, things like especially the metal industry and stuff like that, right? You don't have guys like all teams of guys just turning up and writing, like fucking Soilwork. Love Soilwork. You don't have a team of writers that are turning up and going, we've got songs for you. Soilwork are writing their own shit. Start to finish, they're heavily involved in the production of their own music. They're in there start to finish. So if they win an award for their music, it's because they did the fucking work and it's their music. Yeah. But most of the pop industry.
Yeah. Yeah, keep going.
That's where. Yeah, pop industry straight away. Like people are like singing somebody else's work.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
great.
I think that's where you're right. Like if a performer is winning an award, a performance-based award, sure, they can get up on that by themselves and they can do that. But if a song is winning an award, it absolutely should be the team. But I get that you can't invite everyone that's written every song that's nominated to these ceremonies. Otherwise, there'd be you couldn't have everyone in the arena, right? But I really think that at the very least, if it's going to be a song winning an award, for like best song. Right? Okay, cool. Yeah. Then, yes, if the artist is there as the representation to get up and accept the award, the award, like the announcement on the award, needs to say, right, who wrote it? And they need to list the people that wrote the song and those names, and those people need to get an award as well as the artist who performed it, because you are 100% right. Like, yes, Beyonce is an incredible singer, an incredible performer, but without a team of people, she's not out there making the music. She's not out there writing the songs for the most part. I'm sure she writes some of her stuff, but I imagine I understand a lot of it is contributed from other people, and I think that would go a long way towards in part at least the layperson understanding as well that yes, it's not just that person up
Yeah.
there doing it. It's
Yeah.
but I think that
Exactly.
also comes back to why there's a sense of authenticity in a lot of metal and country,
Yeah.
and to a degree, to a certain degree, a lot of rap and hip hop as well, that
Yeah.
doesn't exist as much in at what you say like pop music is
Yeah.
that a lot of rappers are out there. If they're not making their own beats, they quite often have one or two producers that they work with that make a lot of their beats. So it's a
Yeah.
small team of people doing a lot of that work
Yeah.
to get it there. If you've got a country scene, like you can have a person up there with their guitar doing country. You can have solo country act. It's very very hard to get a solo metal act necessarily because like quite often that requires the band, and I
Yeah.
think the
Yeah.
realness of having a band performing metal has contributed to a bit of an atmosphere where there's this sense that like hypothetically, right? Like if I was 10 times more talented than I am, I could write, like a whole metal album and record
Yeah.
everything and get up there and have like all my backing tracks recorded that I wrote, I've recorded them, I mixed the whole thing, and I get up there as a performer and perform it, but because it's
Mm.
just me to a backing track, that's not seen as legitimate as if I had a whole
Yeah.
band there doing it. And
Yeah.
that's where I have a lot of respect for people like Kid Crusher because that's what he does.
Andrew
He's like this
WK,
blend of
man.
this blend of rap and metal
Mm.
that Kid Crusher does, and he's able to get up there and perform it, a lot of the time by himself. Yes, sometimes he has like backing people. Like sometimes I'm up there with him. Sometimes he's got like, other people up there doing stuff with him. But a lot of the time it's just him up there with the backing track. And I know that's a concern that he has. Is he's like, well, if he's doing a metal show, it's like, are people going to see it as not legitimate because I'm
Mm.
up there performing to a backing track? Like you see, he says always kind of feels like
I think,
karaoke a little bit, but
I think the
there's,
difference there is,
you know,
man, like enough of the crowd know him to know that that's his stuff. Like he's
there's that
written
too.
that,
There's that too.
like it's. I mean, it's like back in the day when Metalocalypse came out, and it was like the two guys that wrote all her songs,
Yeah.
and then people were like, you have to tour these albums, and they're like, we
Yeah.
don't have a fucking band. Like it's
Yeah.
not a band, it's two guys.
But then they went out and got a band to play
Right.
the stuff,
Just
and that's
they got a band and played exactly, and
that's yeah.
that, like when people went to see them live, they're like, okay, we know it's you and you that do
Yeah.
all the music, and to give us that experience, you have to put
Yeah.
that band together.
Yeah.
That's it. And
I mean, Prince did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
the thing. Like, I'm saying, like, and if that's why I think even if people are talented enough to write and record a lot of this stuff on their own, like Barnsey, Navo, like Navo, you've worked with Barnsey enough for that. Like for a long time, for a long time, it was him, and the band
Yeah.
was literally just the live
Session
band.
musos.
They just got up there and they played it live, and he did all the work writing and recording and doing all of that, right? And now he's got a great solid lineup, and he's opened that up, and they're all working collaboratively on it. But a lot of it was him.
Yeah.
But again, you look at it like, okay, if he'd got up there with just him and his guitar, and everything else was backing track, it's not going to be received as legitimately because there's this mentality in metal that we expect a band, and that's why I understand there's still so much debate about people using not so much backing tracks, but like samples and support tracks, right? Like if you've got a metal band and your song has some orchestration behind it, like do you have someone there playing it on keys, or do you just have the backing track there and you're all playing along with that as a pre-recorded track? And some people are like, no, you get a keyboardist on stage and they play an arrangement of the parts, and other people are like, no, well, fuck you, why should we hire someone else? We've got it there, we'll just use that. And I mean, that's something that I've been delving into with Nuclear Vision is some of that as well. We've been working on like, okay, putting samples in there as because we had a lot of samples that we were using, and initially we were having Zach have there with his sample pad and he'd hit the thing to play it at the right time. But now it's like, well, we're using a click track anyway. Why we just line them up with the click track, and it makes our job easier and Zach's job's easier because he doesn't have to hit it at a certain time. He's free to just play and do what he has to do. And I think there's as long as no one's pretending to play stuff that they're not playing, there's literally no issue with it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And look, there's always been a better understanding in the metal crowd as well about what's got to happen on the stage and what they expect and all that sort of stuff. It's regardless if you've got backing tracks or you're getting someone to drop samples on or something like that, they know the work's already been done and you had to do it yourself. Music's this really weird space in art because the only one I can think of that's similar is comedy, where it doesn't matter what you release, you then have to then go out and play that thing and cop direct criticism every time you do your gig. You can paint a painting and stick it in a museum and nobody will ever talk to you about it. You can never read a paper. You could ignore papers and ignore, and never hear anything about that. Okay.
Music,
again,
comedy, and live theatre are the three where it is each performance is, even though it's the same things, every performance is unique. It is made unique by the venue and the audience being the specific combination of members and a whole bunch of factors that mean each performance is unique. And you, as you say, you're getting that immediate feedback.
And it's immediate, and it can be brutal, and it can be upsetting, it can be devastating, and it can be that thing that. And you know what? I've worked with enough bands in my time to see bands fold because they had one show where someone come up and went, "You guys should never fucking play again," and they folded. And I've said to them, "Why'd you listen?" I'm like, "Well, somebody said we were shit." I'm like, "Somebody's always going to say you're shit." It doesn't mean that they actually think you're shit. Out of 10, they're just talking out of their ass.
Why would you ever take advice from someone that you would? Why would you take criticism from someone you would never ask advice from?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's like the guys that are legitimately going to help you are going to come up and go, "That wasn't great, but here's what you did great. You just got to fix this, this, and this, and it's fucking fantastic." You'll always find a market. You'll always find a crowd that enjoys what you do. And the moment you fold because A, it gets too fucking hard, or B, somebody gives you some bad feedback, you probably weren't meant for the industry anyway.
No, if that's what's all it's going to take you to fold. Imagine what's going to happen when you're famous.
Yeah.
That's it, man. And like I was saying before, the music industry is a bastard of an industry to get into. If you're not ready,
it's worse now in the last 5-10 years.
Man, everything's gone digital and that's fantastic, but it's still the same shit. You still have to do live shows. You still have to deal with assholes. You still, like every weekend I'm sleeping in fucking hotel rooms, driving hours and hours and hours to fucking go and play in front of, like New Year's Eve, I played in front of 8 people. You can't tell whether or not people are going to turn up. So you take the risk, you roll the dice on that. But that's the fucking music industry.
Yeah.
If you're doing it for the cash and the claps, you're going to fail.
Oh, yep. Far out.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we wrap this one up for now? Because we've taken enough of your evening. So before we do, so it's obviously Elk Mountain. Your guys are out on the socials. People can go and subscribe on all of that. I have had a look earlier today. The MAZA album is on streaming platforms, or it's at least on YouTube Music, so you can go and check that one out. And make sure you do, because it is criminally underplayed and it deserves a lot of attention. I'm going to be putting it in rotation. I think I'm going to make the missus listen to it tonight when I drive her to work. And yes, and obviously, do you have a socials page for your solo stuff at all, or?
I haven't named yet. Once I do, I'll announce it. I'll obviously put something.
Yep.
Together. Going at the moment, I haven't really thought of a name yet.
No, that's okay. I was more thinking for your acoustic. I was more thinking for your acoustic stuff than.
On my acoustic stuff, it's just my name, so it's just MILA Husker Musician on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah.
Awesome. People can get that. Well, yes, thank you very, very much. I have immense appreciation for you taking the time to speak to us tonight.
Legend, dude. So happy to see that you're still in the game, man.
Yep. I am.
Never lose.
I keep seeing amazing stuff happening at the basement, and I'm like, oh, could I go down? It's a lot further to go now than it used to be. But I'm sure. Oh, fuck, I don't know. I want to try and get down for something this year. I'm hoping to, but we'll see.
Tee it up and
We'll see. But look, if nothing else, we'll be keeping an eye out for that album coming from Elk Mountain and from yourself. And thank you to my co-host Kyle for having this one. Thank you everybody for watching. Miller, before we go,
Yeah.
for the people,
Yeah.
can we get a double bias? Can we get a double bias? Yeah, there we go. All right, we'll leave you people with that amazing image in your head with that gun show. Thank you so much. We'll catch you on next time. Peace out.